Thank you for being here. When I run these workshops for surgeons, for nurses, for our faculty, there is a moment that arrives, usually somewhere around the coffee break when the room goes quiet and someone says out loud what everyone has been thinking. And it is this. I have been using AI as a very clever autocomplete. We type, it replies, we correct it, we type again. It is useful, but it is exhausting because our hand never leaves the wheel. Today I want to walk you through the shift that changes that. The move from prompting a chatbot to commissioning an agent, a system that takes a task and carries it to completion. This is a working session, not a product demonstration. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to sharpen how you think about a tool you are already using. So let us begin with the distinction that changes everything. A prompt engages a system that predicts the next word and then waits for you. It needs your hand on the wheel throughout. It is like supervising a student on their first word round. You correct each step, you catch each omission, and the moment you look away, things drift. An agent is different in kind, not just degree. An agent decides its own next action. You set the destination and you set the standard, and it handles the routing. It is the difference between dictating every turn to a junior and telling an experienced registrar the outcome you need by the end of clinic and trusting them to get there. Let me make that concrete in our language. A prompt is draft discharge advice for this patient. One request, one reply, and you take it from there. An agent is each afternoon review the day's discharges, draft patient appropriate advice at the correct reading level, flag anyone on anticoagulation for pharmacist review, and queue them all for my sign-off. Notice what changed. The second one has a cadence, a standard, a safety check, and a point where I remain in control. That is not a bigger prompt. That is a different thing entirely. So how do you know when a task deserves to become an agent? Because not everything should. This is the filter I teach first because it stops enthusiasm from outrunning judgment. 3 letters, ARR. Autonomous. Can the task proceed without real-time clinical judgment at every single step? If you must be in the loop for every decision, it is not ready. Recurring. Does it happen on a predictable cadence, the weekly audit, the daily triage list, the monthly returns? One-off tasks rarely justify the setup. Reviewable. Can the output be checked against a clear standard before anyone trusts it? If you cannot tell good from bad at a glance, you cannot safely delegate it. If a task needs live judgment or it is one-off or you cannot cleanly review it, keep it as a prompt. That is not a failure. That is discernment. In the workshops, this is where I stop talking. I ask each table to take 5 of their own tasks and sort them against those 3 letters. And I will tell you, the disagreements are where the real learning happens. 2 consultants, same task, opposite answers. That conversation is the point. Let me lift the bonnet for a moment because understanding this keeps our expectations honest. A chatbot converts your words into tokens, numbers, and then predicts the most probable next word based on patterns in the text it was trained on. That is the whole trick. Give it. The patient was tachycardic and it will complete the sentence. But hear the distinction carefully. It completes the sentence. It does not complete the task. That single fact explains most of the disappointment people feel with AI. Now, an agent wraps that same prediction engine inside a loop. It gives it a goal, it gives it tools, and it gives it a memory of what it has already done. The language model is the engine. The agent is the vehicle built around the engine. Why does this matter to us clinically? Because if you understand that the intelligence underneath is prediction, not reasoning in the way we reason, then you will validate its output properly. You will trust it the way you trust a capable trainee. Verify, then rely. Never the other way around. I find it helps clinicians to stop picturing a single AI and instead picture a small team. Much like a functioning clinic where different people do different jobs, there are 4 workers inside a well-built agent. The analyst finds the patterns in the data, the referral letters, the incident reports, the feedback forms. The planner decides what actually matters, prioritizes it, and structures the brief. The operator does the work, drafts the summary, schedules the follow-up, sends the note, and the auditor, my favorite and the one people forget, checks the logic and the context and refines the output before any of it reaches you. Let me show you all 4 in one instruction. Every Monday at 7 a.m., review last week's clinic feedback, theater delays and incident reports, identify the 3 recurring issues, draft a 1-page brief for the department, and self-check for missing context before sending. The analyst reads. The planner selects the 3 that matter. The operator writes the page. The auditor asks, have I missed something? Is this fair? And corrects itself. And the brief is on your desk before you have taken off your coat on Monday. Now here is the difference between a true agent and mere automation. And it comes from an unlikely place. Static automation follows a script, and it breaks the moment reality shifts. An agent, by contrast, runs what is called an OODA loop. It observes, orients, decides, and acts, and it reroutes when the first plan fails. The idea comes from John Boyd, an American military strategist who studied why certain fighter pilots won engagements even in technically inferior aircraft. The answer was not the machine. It was the speed of their observe and decide cycle. Let me bring that into our world. Picture a fixed workflow that books follow-up appointments. It works beautifully until a slot is cancelled or a result is still pending or the patient is already booked elsewhere. A static script simply falls over. It does the wrong thing confidently. An agent notices the gap. It finds the next suitable slot. It checks the patient is not double booked, and it rebuilds the plan. So here is the litmus test I want you to carry out of this room. When the first path breaks, does your system keep following the script, or can it find a better route? Only the second one is a true agent. Everything else is just automation, wearing a nicer coat. Let me be honest with you now, because this is the part people least want to hear. Agents are multipliers and they are mirrors. They amplify the quality of our thinking and our processes, which means they will also do the wrong thing faster and more confidently if we hand them a vague goal. Most of the AI failures I see in healthcare settings are not technology failures at all. They are human process failures, wearing a technology costume. So before you automate anything, run what I call the GPS check. Goal, state the objective in one clear sentence. Proof, define what good looks like and how you will verify success. Steps, describe each step precisely with no hand waving. Let me show you the difference in one example. The weak version, summarize my emails each week. Vague goal, no proof, no steps. The strong version, every morning at 7 a.m., read my unread emails, sort them by clinical urgency, draft replies to the routine queries, and flag anything from the theater coordinator or a referring consultant. Same tool, completely different result. And the difference is entirely on our side of the desk. Here is where I see people go wrong when they get excited. They try to put AI everywhere. The implementations that actually succeed are obsessively narrow. One high-paying, repeated task owned precisely, not intelligence sprinkled across the whole department like seasoning. The price is specific ownership of one workflow where clarity is achievable and the impact is felt immediately. So here is the identification test I set for participants. Find one task that people genuinely dislike, but must do again and again. Coding clinic letters, chasing outstanding results, compiling the weekly morbidity and mortality list, formatting the audit data. Those irritations and the ones that have annoyed your team for a decade, those are your first agents. A single well-scoped agent for one concrete, long-standing irritations will earn more trust from your colleagues, from your governance committee, from yourself, than an ambitious platform that does everything adequately and nothing well. Let me lift our eyes from the workflow to the horizon for a moment. When agents do the work, human value shifts. It moves away from hours worked and the raw speed of our thinking and towards defining quality, spotting error, and deciding when to trust an agent versus a colleague. Outputs become cheap and abundant. Judgment and pace become the scarce assets. That is the trade of this era. Yes, some roles will be reshaped. The coordinator, the junior analyst, parts of the trainees' day, I will not pretend otherwise. But new roles will also emerge exactly as the internet created work that no one had a name for beforehand. And there is a quieter benefit, one I have come to value most. Defining a task well enough for an agent forces us to articulate our own standard of good work. Done properly, this sharpens our thinking. It does not outsource it. The choice in front of us is simple to say and hard to do, to shape this shift rather than be shaped by it. So what do you do tonight? Because I do want you to do something tonight. Open an agent mode and commission one recurring task that passes the 3-letter test. Just one. And watch the 4 workers move, the analyst, the planner, the operator, the auditor. Once you see the anatomy in motion, everything I have said today becomes obvious. Then bring the discipline. Run the GPS check on one candidate workflow before you automate it. Name one narrow, high-paying, repetitive task in your team and write down where its clarity gaps are. Draft the instruction twice, once vaguely, once precisely, and compare what comes back. That comparison teaches more than any lecture, including this one. Plan how the agent should reroute when data is missing or a slot disappears. And set yourself a weekly review to audit the outputs against your standard. And before you scale any of this across a department, be honest about 2 things: the quality of your data and the readiness of your roles. Because an agent does not fix a broken process. It formalizes it. So clean the process first and then let the agent multiply it.